Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're diving into an explainer on a topic that touches pretty much anyone who looks after kids, whether you're a parent, a grandparent, or a caregiver. We are talking about how to identify flu symptoms in children. We're going to break down this really incredible public health infographic that was designed specifically to help you spot the flu early. It's honestly a fantastic example of visual communication, and we're going to unpack exactly how it guides you from just observing your kid straight through to actually taking action.
So, if you've ever taken care of a sick child, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That immediate, stomach-dropping spike of anxiety. They're sluggish, they're super uncomfortable, and you know younger kids often can't even find the words to tell you what hurts. So you're just left guessing. Is it just a common cold? Did they eat something weird? Or is it the flu? That uncertainty is basically the root of all caregiver panic. But hey, here's the good news. Knowing exactly what visual cues to look for, that is literally the master key to reducing that fear. Because when you know what to look for, you completely replace panic with preparedness.
All right, let's jump right into Section 1, Spotting the Flu.
Okay, so this is the official public health infographic we're analyzing today. It was originally distributed to support caregivers, and honestly, it is a total masterclass in visual medical communication. Just look at how incredibly clean it is. There are no distracting backgrounds, no super confusing medical jargon. Instead, you've got these 6 distinct, beautifully illustrated panels featuring a young boy. Each one isolates a very specific symptom, and then it's followed up by this dedicated section at the bottom telling you exactly where to get help. The whole thing is designed so a worried parent can scan it and understand it in literally seconds.
As a caregiver, your absolute best defense is observation, period. So what we're going to do today is take this source and break it down anatomically. We're going to group these 6 symptoms into 2 totally logical categories. First, we'll look at localized symptoms, stuff happening around the head and chest. Then we'll look at systemic symptoms, which affect the entire body. By organizing it this way, it essentially builds this permanent mental checklist in your head, one you can rely on the very next time your little one starts feeling under the weather.
Moving right along to Section 2, Head and Respiratory Symptoms. This is where we zero in on the localized issues, those immediate, visible signs that a respiratory virus has set up shop in the upper body. The source highlights 4 very specific symptoms you need to watch out for: a sore throat, a dry cough, a runny nose, and a headache. Now, these are notoriously tricky, right? Because they look exactly like a standard mild cold. But here's the catch. When these pop up rapidly and start clustering together, that is a huge red flag for the flu. Let's look closer at how the infographic takes these medical terms and turns them into immediate visual cues you could spot from across the living room.
First up is the sore throat, and man, this brilliantly illustrates a key behavioral cue. Take a look at that first graphic. The boy isn't just sitting there looking sad. He has his hand placed totally flat against his neck and upper chest, and he's surrounded by these squiggly little discomfort lines. And why does this matter so much? Because young kids don't exactly have the vocabulary to say, hey, my pharynx is inflamed, right? They just physically grab or rub whatever hurts. So if you see a child refusing to eat and clutching their neck like that, the poster is telling you clear as day, that's a sore throat.
Now, notice how the source distinguishes the type of cough. This isn't just any regular cough. They specifically label it a dry cough. Check out the illustration. The boy's mouth is wide open, and you see these sharp, distinct little speech bubble-like puffs of air shooting out. Notice what's missing. There's no mucus depicted here at all. The artist deliberately used these sharp, empty puff graphics to visually communicate that harsh, hacking, unproductive sound. That dry, irritating expulsion of air is an absolute classic hallmark of the influenza virus.
Next, we move on to the runny nose. This one is probably the most universally recognized symptom of a respiratory bug, and the infographic captures it perfectly. The boy is holding a white tissue, and there's a distinct, highly visible blue droplet just hanging from his nose. In the world of public health design, the color blue is almost universally used to scream fluids, like water or mucus. It's a straightforward, totally undeniable visual cue that upper respiratory congestion is actively happening. Finally, for this section, let's check out the 4th localized symptom, the headache. Now, how do you actually draw a headache? It's completely invisible, right? Well, they solve this beautifully by placing these red, jagged lightning bolts striking right at the side of the boy's head, right on the temple. He's also squinting with one eye closed and raising his hand up near his head. It's mimicking that universal human reaction to a localized throbbing pain. If your kid is wincing, sensitive to light, and rubbing their temples, this visual tells you exactly what they're going through.
Okay, let's shift gears. Section 3, Full Body Symptoms.
So we've covered the head and chest. Now we get to the full body symptoms. This is usually the point where a simple cold graduates to the flu. It's when the virus triggers this massive systemic immune response throughout the child's whole body. Our source points out two major full body symptoms, fever and chills. Unlike a runny nose, which is just stuck on the face, fever and chills completely dictate how the entire body functions. They're basically the body's super aggressive internal mechanics trying to literally cook the virus out of the system. And these two symptoms often act like a seesaw, just swinging back and forth rapidly. Honestly, it can be incredibly alarming to witness if you aren't prepared for it. Let's look at how a fever is represented here. You see the boy looking completely exhausted, and there's a red medical thermometer sticking out of his mouth. But more importantly, check out those heavy blue sweat drops cascading down his flushed face. That is the perfect visual shorthand for an elevated core temperature. A high fever is often the very first sign of the flu, and sometimes it hits super fast, even before the respiratory stuff has a chance to develop. When you see that flushed, sweaty face, yeah, it is definitely time to check their temperature.
And then, wildly enough, directly contrasting the sweat of the fever is the visual for chills. The boy is now wrapped up super tight in this thick, prominent red winter scarf. And right around his body, you see these pale blue, wavy lines that instantly scream shivering and shaking. It's so fascinating how the human body works, isn't it? Their internal temperature is actually spiking because of the fever, but the brain is totally convinced the body is freezing cold. That's exactly why your child might feel like an oven to the touch, but they're begging you for 3 more blankets. This illustration perfectly captures that totally contradictory physical state.
So, what's next? Section 4, Getting Medical Help.
Okay, so the million-dollar question, what do you actually do once you've observed all these signs? Identifying the symptoms is really only half the battle. The other half is taking swift, effective action. The creators of this poster made absolutely sure that no matter what cell network you're on, you have a way to reach out. They didn't just give one number, they provided 5 distinct direct phone lines. This kind of redundancy is just brilliant public health planning. If one line is busy, a panicked parent instantly has 4 backups ready to go. Plus, for non-emergencies or sending over records, they clearly list an email address, info@pevijung.com. It's all about totally removing any friction between the caregiver and the healthcare system.
But, they didn't just stop at traditional phone calls. We live in a digital age, and modern healthcare really has to reflect that. Right in the center of that contact banner, the infographic highlights dedicated numbers specifically for Telegram and WhatsApp. This is so incredibly practical. Think about it. It means a caregiver can just shoot a quick text, maybe even attach a photo of their child's symptoms or a picture of the thermometer reading, and send it straight to a healthcare provider for a quick triage. No waiting on hold required.
And finally, all the way on the right side of the poster's footer, we see this big push for integrated digital health management. They are promoting the eHealth Young app, and it proudly displays that it's available for download on both the Apple App Store and Google Play. This really shows a much more holistic approach to care. The poster doesn't just want you to make a one-off phone call. It actively wants to onboard you into a totally accessible digital ecosystem, a place where you can manage your child's health records, book future appointments, and stay connected way after the flu has finally passed.
So there we have it. We've unpacked the 6 vital visual cues: the throat clutching, the dry puffs of a cough, the runny nose, the lightning bolts of a headache, the sweat of a fever, and those shivering chills. We've also reviewed exactly how you can reach out via phone, app, and messaging. By breaking down this single visual tool, we've essentially armed you with a built-in mental checklist. So I'm going to leave you with this final thought. The next time your little one seems under the weather, are you prepared to look past the panic, trust your observations, and take confident action? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. And hey, stay healthy out there.